and the next conference chair. So I would like to introduce Dr. Teichner. Dr. Teichner is a member of the executive board of Löwe, Kronach, Germany, since December 2012. So he's quite young. With Löwe, he is responsible for design, development, project management, production, and procurement. Detlef Teichner received his degree in communications engineering from the Technical University of Braunschweig, Germany. His PhD thesis was on the topic of TV technology, supervised by Professor Helmut Schönfeld. Dr. Teichner worked with Philips Corporation in Briarcliff Manor, New York, USA, and in Thomson Consumer Electronics, and engaged in early HDTV development as well as Grand Alliance contributions. He led Thomson's efforts on MPEG-2 standardization and developed the first MPEG-2 decoder chip with ST Microelectronics for direct TV. Among other responsibilities in his professional career, Dr. Teichner held positions as Chief Technology Officer at Harman Consumer Group, Harman Becker Automotive System, and as Vice President R&D at Continental Automotive. He contributed to technology development in home entertainment, TV audio, and automotive infotainment. Now, before you start with your presentation, I would like to say a few words about the company of Löwe. Löwe in English means iron, and Löwe was founded on the 22nd of January in Berlin, Germany, in 1923 by Dr. Sigmund Löwe and by his brother David. You see, you see the light. Okay, thank you. So you see Dr. Sigmund Löwe on the left side, and the other one is Manfred von Ardenne, a German television pioneer. Now, in 1926, Löwe, together with Manfred von Ardenne, developed this radio, and it contains the famous Löwe tube with 3 active systems in the vacuum valve, along with some capacitors and resistors, and it was called the very first integrated circuit in the world, this tube. So we had just, it was just necessary to connect it to a resonance circuit on one side and to a loudspeaker on the other side. Yes, of course, a power supply, and this was the radio. And they also together, Manfred von Ardenne and Löwe, developed the very first all-electronic television receiver based on Professor Brown's cathode ray tube. So at that time there was only the Lipko disc and rotating mirrors, but this was the very first electronic receiver shown on the Berlin Fair in 1931. I don't know if they had already an ICCE at that time, but I'm not sure. After the World War, they resumed television development, and this is the first TV receiver from 1951. Now I can see that Löwe has a very long tradition in radio and television development. And yeah, this was hopefully not a too sentimental journey to the past. And Dr. Teichner will now go to share his visions and views on the future with us tonight, please.
Thank you very much, Professor Krauss. It's a great pleasure to have the opportunity to speak not only about history, but also to give you a little bit of outlook of what's just happening now and what will happen in the future with television. And it's also a great honor to work and to continue to work with people who have contributed a lot to the achievements in television over the past few years. My first ICU was in 1985 in Chicago, still at that time, and I was very much on TV topics, and I remember comb filtering and cross-color, cross-luminance reduction, noise reduction, and so forth. So, believe it or not, it's still important to know some of these things, but technology has really progressed, so we need to understand many, many more things by now. So, let me just switch to the presentation here. You can all see this very well. My glasses. Bill Gates said in a famous speech a few years ago, I think it was even here in Vegas at CES and around CES, and remember that until last year Microsoft had the benefit and the honor to give the opening address to the CES. So he said at that time, TV is at death's gate. Prediction is probably not quite right. If we look at what we see right now and what we have seen just at CES this year, a lot of things have happened over the past few years, and a lot of new developments are just coming along. CES has shown again screens get bigger and TVs get better, and that all the time. Over the past decade, we have introduced and established high definition. Today we're even talking ultra high definition. And at CES you could even see SHD, super high definition. I'm not sure why S is less than, or S is more than ultra, but it has to do with naming conventions here. So ultra high definition is 4K and SHD is 8K, and you could see 8K. And I've been told that 8K will be on air in HK, and some of this even has been in some of your journals, in some indications in a few years. There's Olympics coming in Brazil, and we will have 8K. And you could listen to this with Ron Williams a couple of days ago too. So about 10 years ago, we have seen the rapid transition from Tube TV, which really made it for a long time and improved over many, many years. We have made the transition to LCD, and from LCD we made it to LED LCD, so with better illumination and lighting. Plasma is on the decline. We have seen big screen OLEDs last year, and this year again we see really big formats. So all of this clearly means TV is not quite dead yet. In fact, it is still the window to the world. I remember the days when there were only like 2 programs in some countries. In some countries you even only had 1 program, so not much choice, and didn't need much descriptors for it. And then it didn't take long, and we had an overwhelming number of programs, so overwhelming that it became hard to organize it and to sort it all out. And some of you may remember the song from Bruce Springsteen, where he said, I think it was in the 80s, 57 channels and nothing more. So I just recently, setting up a new TV, I had 3,800 channels, so, from just across the world, and all of this available, obviously with the right access cards and methods. So TV variety is there, but it has been and still is a lot of linear TV. But it becomes less important. Linear broadcasting means that you have to follow the schedule of broadcasters, And that was good for as long as we had regular lifestyles, coming home from work, having dinner with family, and you had the 8 p.m., 8 o'clock news on, and the family was watching some entertainment together. Long gone. Since, a number of things have evolved, and I guess all of this has been a lot of tradition and transition, and will become tradition at some time. I guess our kids will not remember, or will not know what the word TiVo means in a few years down the road, but there have been meaningful developments just to get away from linear TV, to pause it, to time shift it, and there were famous paradigms like bathroom break or going to the fridge when the commercials came on. That was in the past, and there was a lot of videotaping. You know, the videotape recorders also belong to the museum now, and are really not needed anymore. And also some of the hassle that we had with those devices certainly not of the past. You may remember the movie City Slickers, where the guys coming out of New York City were sitting on their horses in the wilderness, and we're talking about how to program the timer of a video recorder. So, all long gone. Where we are today is we have a lot of variety at our hands, convergence of different types of media, convergence of a lot of technologies has already happened. The PC, in fact, the personal computer, has helped it a lot. The PC was, in an intermediate state, was the media machine. And also some of the Ps made it into the living room, but not too many, since usually the fans were still too loud and they were not reliable enough. And TV tuners have never made it really into personal computers. So all of what we are looking at today happened from both ends, from the computing industry and from the TV industry. And here we are today. TVs have become smarter. I haven't coined the term, but this is the term of smart TV. And what we are looking on is not only regular and the linear, still linear TV, but we're looking at video on demand, which is provided by a lot of companies and operators. We have all audio choices. We can access our pictures on the net. We have internet access, though that's still very cumbersome with most TVs. And results show and investigations that people don't try it often, don't spend much time on it, since it's much faster to go to a tablet or use a tablet or even have your smartphone using the internet. But TVs give you the chance at least to access the internet. And even some manufacturers are introducing, have already made available specific games coming along with their TVs. So that's live today. And all of these sources have to be managed. Linear and broadcast TV is still the backbone, and never underestimated. This is big business, and that's something that will last for a long time. Commercials really make it very meaningful. Along with that, we have an important thing which is called electronic program guides. Those have come along a lot over the past few years, just to know what's on, which channel, which time of the day, and to know and to find what could be interesting for me. We still have something very old-fashioned, something like teletext, video text. Even that we find still very much in use. It's a source of information that has, just with a few numbers, a few words, has a lot of information that people just try to get to. Easy access to teletext, or video text as it's called in some countries, is still important. So that's still the old word. Then, with internet, YouTube, other video sources like Vimeo from Google come along. We have video on demand. Apps have made it onto the TV screen, and that means applications, not apps, same as we have on smartphones, but very similar, and obviously a little bit more adapted to the viewing experience from the lean-back situation and from a distance and being operated with a simple remote control. A thing like HBB TV has come along, and I take this here as just an example of a standardization. This standardization was really in the forefront, and I know that in some countries, some areas of the world, similar approaches are being discussed right now. What is HBB TV? It stands for Hybrid Broadcast Broadband Television, so it's the convergence of TV and internet services. And there are some benefits to it, obviously, and this was a strategic move, certainly driven by the broadcasters in the first place, since the broadcasters see that there's a lot of competition coming up with all the internet sources and all the other content available. So obviously the territory gets smaller and gets endangered. So the standardization was meant to organize this internet experience a little bit from a broadcaster's perspective. What does this mean is you have an indication with the running program that there is additional information available, and that information obviously is provided by broadcasters. That could be some documentaries, could be some more movies, could just be text information, which you can access with a simple press of the button. And this is the best connection of TV and internet. And I'm not advertising it much, I'm just taking this as an example of how much the convergence also has happened from that end. The pity is that obviously from a business perspective there's not so much incentive to provide a lot of material behind it. So just the variety of material that's behind this service or these services is comparatively small compared to what you see in the open net, obviously. And that is something that we have to watch. But from an experience point of view, it's certainly very attractive. And it has gone forward in that sense that in some countries, some broadcasters have used the standard and even extended on it to provide what's called catch-up TV. And catch-up TV means that you can dial in while you're watching a regular TV. You can dial into the internet, go to, for instance, BBC, get to the BBC iPlayer, which is a standard of its own, but closely related to HBB TV, and then with the carousel and some, again, guide user interface, you can access content and shows that you have missed before. So quite advanced, and as I will show later on, quite a hassle, since a lot of standards, a lot of implementation, and a lot of dynamics in the development really make it difficult to keep track of it, all of it. And at least from a consumer's perspective, there are quite a few offerings, but it's quite confusing too, since some people just don't know how to deal with all this. In addition to that, we can also use the big screen and the TV as the terminal for even music. We have implemented in premium Löwe TVs since long. We have implemented internet radio. We even have radio on the digital video broadcasting channel. So there is just a bandwidth reserved even for radio. Not too many people are using it, but it's digital, clear quality, and on top of that, obviously, a lot of internet radio and music services like Spotify, Pandora, and so forth. All this is available today on many premium TVs. And access to pictures, libraries on the internet, or your own stuff that's somewhere in the cloud, all that's there. And then there is a really big move. We have access to our social network, or our social network has access to us when we watch TV. So that's the new world, and it's here. And what it means is, with all of these new services, including what I'm showing here on the top right, and the bottom right corner, is obviously all the content that we have at home. So just in case you have your own network organized, you can obviously also access what you have on your PC or on local storage and make use of all this. And the result of it is, in the future, we will be our own program directors. We'll be able to manage our viewing schedules alongside with our favorites, our favorite subjects, may it be movies, sports, soaps, whatever we like to see and whatever we like to see at a given time. It should be easy to maneuver and to organize it. When I say it should be, it's not yet. Since today there's a lot of offering, there's a lot of variety, but it doesn't quite work seamlessly. And sometimes it really needs an expert mode and an expert condition to organize it the way you want to have it. But that's the future, so things will move in this direction with all the content and all the sources available. We will definitely benefit. And content is king. Just the immense variety, and you see the numbers, 50,000, 100,000 movies at your fingertips, millions of songs on iTunes, Spotify, and so forth. Access to the latest releases, recommendations that you can get there, including then obviously public and local TVs and all the general internet video stuff. All of this is there, and content really rules. I am in control today, but as I said, a little bit more in an expert mode, and more of that organization is just happening, and a lot of that was even very much visible and became visible this year's CES. In addition to that, apps have really become accessible from the couch and with the remote control, and social media started to play a big role. And you see some of the stuff that you're used to with your iPhones or Android phones, just to know quite accurate and quite intuitive show the weather forecast, photos again, traffic information plays a big role. You see that, especially in metropolitan areas, that people constantly look at those screens which show which highways are just too crowded and where to go. Social media, all the tweets and all the Facebook entries are obviously of permanent interest, and you don't want to just have a certain time of the day reserved. You want to see what's coming in and what's coming in now. So all of this is there, alongside with news tickers. Doesn't mean that we need to stay and watch when the next news broadcast comes. News are available just with the very latest information at any time. And the big screen has a clear advantage, since that's proven. With bigger screens, people really enjoy to have live programming. As you can see, it can be a football match, or it can be any entertainment, and some information alongside shown on it. And that will definitely happen more so as we go forward. And it's a matter of how the graphical user interface is organized, and how this will be accessible. I'll get back to it. To just wrap up on all the applications, while we have this big screen and while we have internet, it's just the next thing to make this a communication terminal. Most of you probably remember that video telephony didn't really make it. Spent a lot of, many years and a lot of time on this, and we had little screens, and we had this on ISDN, I remember, and on some other telephone standards. Everything was there. The equipment wasn't even quite cheap, but the use case was not good, since you had to go to the telephone, and first of all you had to buy one, and you had to buy one, and your mom and dad had to buy one, and whatever, and your friends maybe. Skype has really made this big difference. And again, thank you, Bill Gates, thank you, computers, since we all learned it with the PCs. And the convenience was very clear. Convenience is you have all your address books and everything available on the PC, so how easy can it be? And on the PC you can even see who is maybe now just online, who is just coming online, and then you just say hello, and that's how Skype works. And Skype has really made it. There are other services, obviously, but Skype is the choice for many. Makes it accessible. I've had even job interviews and everything on Skype, so video conferencing happens on Skype, but it's mostly the social thing, it's the friends thing. And that now on the big screen makes it really useful, since big screen means it's the whole family. It's the whole family sitting on the couch, not going anywhere else, not having a special appointment or anything, not buying special equipment. You've seen a lot of TVs already with integrated cameras, and I can tell you a lot of interesting things coming along. I've even seen research with like 2 cameras where you know this mismatching with the eyes. You always look in the wrong direction with video conferencing and so forth, so you never look into the eyes of your counterpart. Believe it or not, there is research going on, and it shows first results where this is being corrected. So this really looks very natural, and it's less irritating. It's still a lot of processing power needed for it, and it will not be around tomorrow, but it's coming. And that really means that this is just common use. People get used to it, and people don't need big skills for it. And in case you ask yourself where Löwe has the camera, I think we had some far sight and a good vision on how things would come along. Everybody else has a little camera somewhere on the top of the very small screen. We had since many years this iconic eye, which is used for local controls. It's the little thing at the bottom, in the center. This is very iconic for Löwe. Some companies have imitated, but that hasn't made it. We really have this with every TV, and obviously it comes very handy. We'll make use of this little eye. The term eye even says it, as the camera, and definitely we'll make more use of that communication technology. So much about applications. Full range, more to come. It would be interesting also to see how apps make it, but there are obviously other and different user scenarios. I remember the days when everybody was very afraid of set-top boxes. The TV makers were afraid of set-top boxes, and set-top boxes just became so powerful. Processors and set-top boxes, and then also obviously a simple thing was that set-top boxes usually came with a network, and in most cases still come from a cable operator, so they're subsidized. And it's a different business model, and that makes them move faster. And so the TV makers were afraid that they would be left out there with a dumb terminal, which would become very cheap at the end, and set-top boxes would take over. It hasn't happened. There are lots of set-top boxes around, but the TVs still get more powerful. The next thing now is happening that all these mobile devices come along, and the viewing habits have changed already quite a bit, especially for young people, as even regular TV is available on your iPhone or Android phone or your tablet. That gives you a lot of flexibility, and that is a competition, obviously, to the big screen. And we have to state the facts. Smartphones are driving the technology, and driving technology advances. It's not TVs. Again, the same thing. Smartphones are subsidized. It's a whole different business model. You can afford to have a quad-core processor in a very cheap smartphone. You have a lot of memory there. You have great display technology, and by the way, it is connected from the very beginning, from the start. It has all the GSM, UMTS, LTE. It has the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth capabilities. So how do you compete? The same story happens again, that people think that TVs may just become simple terminals, and that's not a good business case. But stay rested. It will not be a one-sided story. We can make these little guys our friends. It's not enemies. There are lots of cooperative scenarios, and we have only seen the beginning of it. The smartphones and tablets are being used for control of TV programming right now. And again, they will not substitute the simple remote control have to look at it, and even if you have lots of smartphones and applications now where you can pause and forward and do whatever you need to do with channel selection on the TV and so forth, that's not completely replacing the remote control. The remote control with some buttons is still quite useful, but it's a multi-usage scenario, and we're talking the multi-screen scenario. Proven the fact that where in those countries where TVs are already connected to the internet, and the numbers, I don't want to repeat them here since they are in some cases quite doubtful, at least they go up to like 60% connection. So it means 60% of the new TVs are already connected to the internet. The reason why I'm saying it's doubtful is that there are other investigations also which show that some people, let's say the average, even all of the average, only spend 9 minutes per year on the internet using the TV. So connection is still coming along, but the smartphones, tablets are connected all the time. And that means that what you don't get on your TV, you get on your smartphone or tablet. And one thing just is very easy to understand. The program selection and having an electronic program guide, knowing about everything that's up there, that's coming and will be on for the next 2 weeks or so, that's much easier to handle on a tablet. And we have implemented this. Löwe has a product like this. We have apps which we give away for free. They work great with our TVs. Other companies have the same, and then there are applications which work independent from any TV, but they don't have the full functionality, can make use of everything that the TV provides for. So it's a coexistence scenario. It's very friendly coexistence. It's a richer experience, and nobody needs to be afraid that anything goes away, since at the same time we cannot make the assumption that smartphones or tablets or so will be all around all the time. And by the time, with their changes and software changes, with their rapid and dynamic developments, it's still good to know that the TV is there and it stays put there for the next few years, and you know what it's doing, and you can operate it with a simple remote control with some buttons, and you find your linear programming or additional content. But it's a coexistence, it's a multi-screen scenario. When I say multi-screen, clearly I mean the second screen thing that people talk about, but it doesn't stop there. It's not second screen only. It's really more like multi-screens, and we get there. It definitely means that things need to be connected via wireless, typically. Bluetooth hasn't played a big role with TVs, but even that may come along. But Wi-Fi is the link of choice between the TV and the smartphone or the tablet, so that's why it's specific standards. There needs to be a specific interface, software interface with the TV that's connected to your wireless network, and also there needs to be specific apps on the smartphone. Obviously, there are also new applications, and we will see more of that, where the connection goes just via the internet. So you don't even have a local connection, but your tablet connects to the internet, to your accounts over there, and your TV connects to the same accounts. YouTube has things like that, for instance, where you synchronize via the internet, and at home it looks like the two things are just working together locally. And of course we have also point-to-point wireless. So a lot of choices, and all of this will emerge into new usage scenarios and will become very attractive. And it doesn't stop there. While TVs are just connected wirelessly, why don't you just connect them among each other? There are scenarios for this, multi-room scenarios in fact. We know that from audio. Multi-room audio is a big topic now, that you don't only have one device in one room, but you have 5 devices in 5 rooms, and when you go from one room, walk from one room to another, then you still hear the same music, and it's fully synchronized, no delays, no echoes, and so forth. Those achievements have only come along now recently, and same happens with TV. We have implemented this since many years. In fact, every TV has a hard drive built in, every TV has Wi-Fi built in, and that means, for instance, you can record something anyway whether you press the button or not, since if you want to just pause, you just pause, and then you come back and then you resume, since every program that you're watching is recorded and it's fully protected. Digital rights management is used for that. So it stays, the content stays in the TV, and then since all of this is available on a hard drive, you can just pause playback on one TV. Let's say late in the evening you feel like moving to the bathroom or to another room, or you may just want to make space available for your kids or for your wife, and they continue to watch another program while you take your program with you onto the second screen into another room and so on. Or, in fact, also you can take that content, obviously, to a mobile device, or the other way around, from a mobile device, push it to a TV screen. All of these things are happening, and that means content follows you, and that's a big concept. It's a game changer, since we have gotten used to access all the content everywhere we go, but it's not quite seamless yet. We will make it seamless. We will make it more or less automatic, so that you know the story of wiping something with your hand from the small screen to the big screen. You have seen it already. It works in prototypes. As we go, it will be really easy of use. It will be convenient, and it will happen. That also means that you grab something and then you go. So those are the new scenarios, and that means a lot of flexibility, very versatile, a lot of new interesting scenarios of home technology, and all technology is built around the TV, in fact. It makes use of other ingredients, other technologies, network access storage, for instance. And the next question is, if you have some content on your TV, like I just said, you have it recorded, that hard drive doesn't hold forever. Maybe you want to even archive some stuff, or keep it for longer, or keep it as long as you find it interesting. And how you put it on the network access storage, for instance, that's a question right now. It can be done, but here we come into multiple scenarios which are not that easy to manage today. And putting this up here, since this is a great challenge, that means the ease of use and the convenience can only come along once we solve these problems and these conditions today. Everybody knows about the concepts of network access storage, great concepts, usually still a little bit on expert mode. Not everybody knows this. Even installers and dealers shy away from it, since they don't want to go into the hassle of local wireless networks and servicing them and so forth. At least the concepts are there. So for people who know about it, they can go a long way with it. But then it depends on which TVs you buy. Then it depends on which other stuff you have. And then why would you store it at home, since there's the cloud, and there are lots of offerings and services where you can just put it in the cloud and don't have to worry about extending your capacity at home and so forth. So the concepts are around, but they're piecemeal today. And again, mobile devices play a big role in the middle of it, since also mobile devices now hold a lot of content. And it's amazing how much content that can be on a mobile device, and how versatile that can be handled. You just buy something while you're on the way to work, or while you're somewhere on the road, press the button, you have something, but you have it on your cell phone, or your smartphone, or you have it in the cloud, but somewhere in a dedicated memory. And that doesn't mean automatically that you can watch it at home, can watch it on the big screen next time when you wanted to show it to your friends and so forth. So more things need to happen, and they will happen, and they will go even further, since all of this also, obviously, is not only in the palm of your hand, but it's also in cars. Cars have come a long way, and I've worked a lot in that over many years. Interesting enough, all these systems are very proprietary yet, and still very dedicated, and they are not fully linked. So a lot of island solutions, and great engineering topics, great business topics even. Obviously you can say iTunes sold this for you, but then look at it, how much iTunes really covers and how much you may want to do with it. So there are limits today. There's Google, there's a lot of stories that you can have on the net and in the cloud or locally and so forth. But there are three things that are cumbersome. One is transcoding, since all of this stuff is coming along with different formats and different standards. Transcoding has become a big word, and it's not that easy to do. You can do that on your PC, you can do a lot today, but if you just want to play back something in some device, you may just find out that just exactly that format does not work there. And TVs have come along. They have a lot of decoding flexibility built in, but it's costly, and not every TV can do everything. Same on tablets and so forth. So transcoding is one. Syncing, as I just said, just how do you keep track of it? You may have multiple copies of the same stuff, different locations. Don't need that. If you want to buy something and you own it, you may want to have it in different resolutions. You may want to have it in one place where you can access it every time and any time you want to have it. So that still has to come a long way. And the third topic, obviously, is digital rights management. And that's really the burden. As much as we all know that this is essential and it needs to be in healthy condition, the way digital rights management has to be handled, that's very cumbersome, and that's putting a lot of fences and stop signs into this. But I'm quite sure it will come along and we will see all of this and it will become more and more seamless. So let's get a little bit into technology. TV. TV is not a PC. A TV is not a smartphone. And it's not even a set-top box. Set-top box has, from a functionality point of view and from the way it's being built, has a lot of similarities with TV, but it's not the same. If you look at block diagrams, and this is very much simplified, and it's being used here for an overview, you find a few things that are very specific to a TV. And I only heard a few days ago, talking with guys from Google and Google TV, that they now found out that in TV there is a certain clock domain. And the clock domain is dependent on the display and how you display the content. I remember that we had lots of discussions with the PC folks in the past, since they never understood it. It was just, everything was very easy, but we were dropping frames all over, and the timing conditions were not right, and so forth. But it was never a problem that there was a frame dropped here, there was a frame repeated there, that the audio had to be adjusted a little bit. By the way, you don't drop audio frames, you get some nasty clicks. So things have happened in the past. Now this was the first time for me that somebody coming from a PC domain clearly stated and said, yeah, but that's different, and we have to watch it, and we have to build our system around it. And Google TV, in fact, has taken this into account in their current architectures. So there's only one, but there are other things. As said, other devices have never really embraced what we now call network interface module. And you may think that this is just the interface to your plug at home. Yeah, but it basically means everything. We have just abstracted it and generalized it here. The term means all the tuners. And in our TVs, and some of our competitors do the same. Not everybody though, since it's a cost thing. We put in every tuner, and we put them in there twice. Two times satellite, 2 times cable, 2 times terrestrial. And terrestrial, we even have digital and analog tuners. So a lot of tuner stuff, and that has to work. And it has to work with the local networks, obviously. These tuners are very specific TV things. And as much as they have come along, they are costly and they are sensitive, and you can't just put them that easily into, let's say, a tablet. And why 2? 2 is obviously for what I explained earlier. It's for watching one program, recording another one at the same time. So full dual channel capability is important, since if you record a program, then you cannot watch anything else anymore if you only have one channel. And so the network interface is generalized terms. This network also means broadcast network, obviously, but it also includes then the lower section here, where you see LAN, wireless LAN, HDMI, and many more connections. We could put in the USB and all the other stuff. We have multiple HDMIs and so forth. Even those things, the whole connectivity point of view, that could be a full circle around this circuitry here. That's very specific to a TV, since it's basically a hub where all the other sources come along. And you still have legacy resources, like even maybe some tape recorders, where some old material still sits on a cassette and you never found the time or didn't bother about copying it onto digital. So legacy and connectors mean a lot of things. And then there is what we call the media connectivity subsystem. That's connecting all of this here. So there we have all the demultiplexers, the decoders. That's where the CPU sits, and usually also now a graphics processor. The graphics processor is needed for building all the graphical user interface, which again will make it easy to use then later on. So deinterlacing then has to come along. Deinterlacing means we still have a lot of interlace material, and we have to use the CPU and the graphics processor, and specifically to do the deinterlacing. And then frame rate conversion, picture improvements are part of it. And only then it goes to the display. So we call this media connectivity subsystem, TV backend. And that's the specific part about most TVs today. The single TV SoC subsystem, where all of this sits and where all of this basically makes a TV, with all the connectivity served and with all the processing, decoding and building the user interface and doing the deinterlacing and doing a little bit of picture improvement. So that's the TV circuitry, which is not a set-top box, which is not comparable to a tablet, even if some of the circuitry is similar. And that's why in these processors with the TV, where everything needs to be very cost efficient, you don't see much of quad-core yet. You have seen the first dual-core circuitries, and you've seen more and more graphics capabilities, but it's lagging behind, and it will never be, never say never, but I think it will never be at the same speed as the development of smartphones and tablets. But it uses at least similar technologies, so some of the core elements of this SoC are similar. Then again, not too many companies are building these SoCs anymore. Over the last 12 months, I've seen 4 companies disappearing from the marketplace, and that makes it a little bit more difficult to handle all of this. So then we have FRCs, very dedicated components, and this is really for the high-end conversion, where we double the image frequencies and where we do more motion estimation to just make the picture look good. And you never get as good pictures as you have on a big screen. And it matters with a big screen, since with a big screen, if you have motion jagginess and so forth, it's much more annoying than having it on a 4-inch screen in your hand. And then again, the displays are very specific. Challenges coming along are all over the place. 4K. I could speak a lot about this, what 4K needs as a challenge, a lot more processing power, and even from an architectural point of view, like OSD and so forth, needs to be taken care of. I had several meetings over the last few days with chip makers, and some of them have understood it, some of them are not yet at speed, and we'll see how that comes along. And I can tell you that not every 4K that you will be able to buy in the second half of this year will be really 4K. So you better watch out. If 4K all of a sudden looks worse than 2K, then you know that you got a cheap deal. So don't go just for the sales, for the sale sign in the shop window. I think I can skip this. This is a little bit more detailed view though. This is the single SoC that you see here. FRC, HDMI, front ends, tuners, audio section, and again, very dedicated to TV. Good news is that even with TV, we still follow the same rule. It's a progressive curve with increase of processing power. And then the same with the graphics core, GPU, graphical So you will see more of it, and it will be needed, in fact. 4K is 4 times the number of pixels. That needs more number crunching, and that needs more support. I have a lot more detail, but just want to give you the general idea. Even display technologies are an art by themselves. What you see here, what you can look at, is that there's obviously a lot of scalability. If you look at the first arrow there on the left, from 5.5 to 7, something like 10-inch, all the way up to 32, 40, and then 90-inch LED. There are different technologies around, and these technologies are still on the move. We see a lot of good developments, like the IGZO technology from Sharp, for instance, which takes much less power. It's good for portable devices. Or, as the transistors are much smaller on the screen, you can get much more light for the same amount of power, which again matters for TV. Then we have the different formats. That's the next arrow. Then we have different basic technologies like OLED. In fact, OLED is much more of an investment topic. I don't think that we will see bigger OLEDs than we just see right now, since it's enormous investment that actually, as much as I know, no company is able and is willing to shoulder right now. And then, obviously from a design point of view, that's where you see a lot of differentiation. Let me just, without going into all this necessary detail here, give you an idea where the complications with TVs is. And I've been asked, since there had been the rumor in May that Apple would take over Löwe. It was a great story for us. It was just amazing to see what was in the blogs. And some people clearly said, oh, that's a good match, Löwe design and Apple design. There was the rumor, obviously, and I think I know that there's something going on. Also Apple thinks about building TVs. Hey, welcome to the party. Lots of standards to be covered. And the interesting thing, this is just Europe. Without going into all the detail, but you see all the colors. It's all different standards. You wouldn't believe it, but even the Denmark people, even people in Norway, even people in Switzerland, like these little countries, they have their own standards, and the broadcasters have different specifications for it. A lot of hassle if you want to build a regular TV. The answer could be obviously just let's do Internet protocol. Not quite easy, since if you go further than even on Internet, up there you see the term OTT, over the top. Again, it's lots of standards, and it's lots of formats, and it's lots of variety that needs to be developed. It needs to be integrated, that's what you see on the right-hand side, tested, and certified. So here we are, and don't want to bother you too much with software structures, but that's where we are. We have even TVs developed a full scale of software architecture, which is quite powerful, which is the basic element for coping with all of this. And the good news is that with all the complexity and variety, we can still handle it. And where it really comes down to is we need to have the best user interfaces to deal with all this. This is how we organize it. You have very easy operations up and down, left and right, cursor functions, very much basic on TV, and you can put your favorites. Favorites can be a certain program, like TF1 is French, then you have Arte here, which is famous in Europe. This is audio, and you can even have your own like selection of a certain music track or a CD on the screen, and enjoy it with just one press of the button. So that's where it's going, working together with EPG, finding more intelligence in how to find it all, and in the end, it will be a fun terminal. And we will coexist. PCs, tablets, TVs, and TVs still have a great future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Teichner, very much for your presentation. It was a huge amount of very exciting information you gave to us. I think there are some questions, but on the other hand, we have also to stick to the schedule of the conference, so just a few questions.
Thank you. Wonderful talk. Your last comments on 4K not being what consumers may think it is. that a challenge to us in engineering to have better references for it than just Ultra HD and such, or is it a marketing clarification that will just take time?
I think marketing is the thing that will confuse it a little bit, since 4K just sounds better than anything else. And I don't want to put blame on anybody, but I've seen some simple concepts where it's just not the appropriate signal processing to do the upscaling from 2K. And the other thing is obviously, if you want to have 4K, then what do you care for? In the beginning, there are not too many 4K resources. And sources, I should say. So the sources are very limited to still picture cameras. And in fact, also what I've just shown here, the graphic user interface, that will look great on 4K. But not every chip will support it, since that's where you need to have the detail in the memory, you need to have the detail in the processor and so forth. So I guess it will come along, it doesn't need further standards. But I have heard even from some companies that they think that they can differentiate very well on it, just doing the right thing. And as engineers, we want to do the right thing.
Thank you.
My question is about apps on the connected or smart TVs. All the marketing stuff and research I've read says consumers love the idea of being able to click on a widget to, look at the weather, the traffic, this sort of stuff. But when they actually get the product, they use it maybe to watch Netflix. So my question is there a technology or performance issue that's preventing consumers from realizing the vision of what they expect? Is there a gap between what they actually get and what they're hoping to get? And is there a way to close that gap?
Yeah, it's a great question too. You've seen the first apps from some TV makers. So they bring their own apps, and some of them also have opened the development environment, provided something like SDKs, software development kits, for app developers. And there are standards like HTML, some of them even based on Java still. Some of them obviously on Android. I've not touched on Android here, but Android for TVs will also play a role. And I at least mentioned Google TV, which is now getting closer to Android. Google TV was one thing, Android was another. So now that's more compatible to the releases of Android. As this comes along, then I think we will see, first of all, an environment for doing the development that will attract more developers. And as we see that, then I assume more attractive and more suitable apps will come along for the TV screens. And so even if it's, as you say, it's easy for users to just click on an icon and say, okay, this is what I want to have. The thing is now, what does it do then later on with a big screen? And to make use of the big screen and to navigate then in the app, again with remote control, those are the things that need to be resolved. So I don't think, personally, that a new standard is needed. The standards are basically coming along, and we will see these development environments. And then I'm quite confident that with like every screen, like smartphones, tablets, also on TVs, we will see more apps, and we will see apps that are really very appropriate for the living room.